Let's jump right in. Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're unpacking the complex and honestly pretty agonizing psychology behind why inconsistent attention is just so magnetically powerful. We're going to break down the actual science of why we stay, even when we absolutely know we shouldn't. Welcome to Pattern Loops, Episode 1, a lover's production. Today's explainer is all about diving deep into those loops and exploring the quiet, hidden internal systems that totally hijack our focus. More specifically, we're going to decode intermittent reinforcement. We really want to understand exactly why a pattern of warmth, followed by distance, and then a sudden return is just so incredibly hard to walk away from.
All right, so let's set the stage by asking the core emotional question driving this whole dynamic. Imagine you're staring at a phone, right? It's been dead silent for days. And then, bam, it lights up. Why on earth can one unexpected message completely erase 10 days of agonizing silence? That exact tension, that's what we're unpacking today.
Section 1, the unexpected message, the loop. To answer that question, we really need to look at the architecture of the unexpected message and how it acts as a massive psychological trigger. Let's map out how this actually looks in real life because it perfectly captures the incredibly confusing reality so many of us face. Okay, so day 1, you have this highly affectionate encounter. Things feel amazing. But then day 4 hits. Sudden, unexplained distance. You start replaying everything, right? Wondering, what did I do wrong? And then, literally just as you start to accept the silence, day 12 hits. Out of absolutely nowhere, a warm, unexpected message pops up. This crazy timeline actually builds into a super predictable, repeating relationship loop. It kicks off with distance, which immediately breeds step 2, uncertainty. Now that uncertainty, it drives us straight to step 3, where we're obsessively monitoring our phones, waiting, maybe even pursuing. And finally, step 4, that burst of unexpected attention and the sheer relief that washes over us. But here's the catch. That relief just sets us up for renewed investment, and then the exact same cycle of distance starts all over again.
Section 2, understanding intermittent reinforcement. Now we need to look at the clinical evidence-based science to see why this loop is so deeply, deeply ingrained in us.
So intermittent or partial reinforcement is basically just a learning mechanism. It's what happens when a behavior, like checking your phone, weeding, or forgiving, is rewarded only sometimes instead of every single time. And human experimental research shows this actually makes the behavior stick around way, way longer after the rewards completely stop. Now, this is a crucial takeaway. This is a learning mechanism. It doesn't automatically mean an inconsistent person is like some evil genius deliberately manipulating you, or that it's instantly a trauma bond. It's really just about the hardwiring of how human brains process unpredictable outcomes.
Now, what's absolutely fascinating is how our brains actually handle this unpredictability. It comes down to something called reward prediction error. Basically, this is the gap between the reward we expected to get and the reward we actually got. Dopamine signaling plays a huge role here. But forget the idea of it just being a pleasure chemical. It's way more accurate to say dopamine helps update our predictions. It's literally assigning intense motivational importance to that random, unpredictable text.
And this exact mechanism was perfectly showcased in a 2011 controlled study by Witch Hurt and her team. They brought in female undergrads and found something wild. Romantic uncertainty, like literally not knowing how much a guy liked them, actually increased their attraction. It even increased how often they thought about the guys, way more than when they knew for a fact the guys liked them. So while this is just one experiment and thankfully not the universal law of love, it proves a really huge point. Inconsistency dramatically strengthens our attention, but, and this is a big but, intensity does not equal safety, reciprocity, or actual long-term compatibility.
Section 3, the real hidden rewards. So let's pivot and look at what's actually happening beneath the surface when that intermittent message finally comes through.
Here's the kicker. The actual reward driving your behavior, it's not just getting the other person's attention. A powerful reward doesn't even have to be pleasurable. A lot of times, it's just the immense relief from crushing anxiety and distress. It's hope being restored. It's that little piece of proof that, hey, they remembered me. It might be a temporary band-aid for your self-worth, or just returning to this imagined future you built up in your head. So two people could get the exact same text message, right? But they experience it entirely differently because it's answering totally different internal needs. Section 4, the lover's pattern map. To truly map all this out objectively, and please, let's drop the self-blame here, we can take a look at our internal systems. We start with hearts. This represents our deep motivation. It's that part of us whispering, I want closeness, I want clarity, I want that amazing connection back that we had at the very beginning. But countering that, we've got spades. Spades map out our protective systems. This is the fear talking, saying, I'm terrified of losing this connection forever. Or worse, having to actually accept that they might never be consistent. Next up, we have diamonds, which is all about meaning, how we interpret that sudden return. We start telling ourselves, oh, they came back, that means I matter. Or, okay, maybe this time it's really going to change. And that interpretation, it drives our clubs. Clubs represent our actual behaviors. Because we convince ourselves the return means we matter, we dive right into checking our phones, reading around, reaching out, making excuses for their silence, or just forgiving them completely and restarting the whole crazy loop. When you look at this pattern map, the grand design of the loop becomes so obvious. The trigger is always the unexpected return. The immediate reward is that sweet hit of relief and possibility. But look at the long-term consequence. It's literally just more uncertainty. And crucially, we start paying way less attention to the consistent real-world evidence right in front of us. Our brain walks away having learned a very flawed lesson. If I just stay available, if I just try one more time, that highly rewarding version of them might actually come back. Section 5, seeing the whole pattern. So, knowing all this stuff, how do we actually find the interruption point? Like, how do we break this insanely powerful psychological cycle? To find that interruption point, we've got to learn how to evaluate the pattern across time. We have to ruthlessly separate the intense, totally intoxicating relief of the rewarding moment, that one single text, from the glaring objective truth of the overall evidence that spans weeks or even months. We really have to remember this vital distinction. Seriously, I want you to let this sink in for a second. The return is just an event. It's a single, isolated data point. The true reality of the relationship, it's everything that happens in the deafening silence between those returns. So whatever you do, do not judge the relationship just by the return. So I want you to evaluate your own situation right now, totally without judgment. Ask yourself honestly, are you genuinely attached to the relationship, or are you just attached to the possibility of that next reward? Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. Take a deep breath and let go of the self-blame, okay? Because honestly, this is just how human brains naturally process unpredictable rewards. But as you step away today, I'm going to leave you with this one thought. If their pattern of inconsistency never, ever changed, would you still be waiting around for the next return? Know what repeats. Study the pattern.